Good morning, everyone. This is Robert Rivera. Can everyone hear me okay, commissioners?
Can hear you fine, Robert.
Perfect. Okay, well, is everyone ready to get started?
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's do a roll call for the commissioners.
Commissioner Fields, are you here?
It restarted.
All right. Cindy, is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Commissioner Franz?
Sorry, I'm here. I was having trouble unmuting. This is Mark.
Great. Commissioner Sines?
I'm here.
Great. Commissioner Steen?
Present.
Great. Chairman, I think you're ready to go.
Okay, let us start with the report by the Bingo Advisory Committee. William Smith, you have the floor.
Unfortunately, I believe he is still an attendee and we're awaiting him to be promoted. If you could bear with us just a moment.
Well, we can just keep going and then come back to William when he's available. Let's move on.
Can you hear me?
There
Trace,
he is.
Is that you, Trace?
Yes. I have been promoted. Good morning, commissioners, and thank you for having the meeting today. We had a good meeting at our last meeting for the Bingo Advisory Committee. We discussed a lot of rulemaking. 402-702 was one of the rules that we discussed at length about dealing with veterans and having a conviction on their record. It was opposed by all members, but the staff had decided to pull that down and rework that a little bit, and we were very greatly appreciative of that. So we're going to rework that a little bit, and then we went on to we had a nomination for the BAC of Corey Harris, and Director Tom Hansen is going to finish doing the background check and get back to us on that. Other than that, we support all the rules today as proposed. And that will conclude my report from the Bingo Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Trace. This is Bob Beard, General Counsel. So you do not have a new member to propose for the BAC today.
No, we're still conducting the background check, and once we get that done, then we will be proposing the new member.
Great. So there's no action to be taken. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item number 3, we have the esteemed Mike Fernandez.
Good morning, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Mike Fernandez. I'm the Director of Administration. Item 3 in your notebook is an action item. Staff is seeking Commission approval to issue a request for proposals for drawing studio and production services. This is in preparation for our move to 1801 Congress. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Okay, hearing none, need a motion.
This is Eric. I'll make a motion.
Oh, actually, there's no. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Excuse me.
This is Jamie Steen. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Aye. Okay, Next item, number 4. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Item 4 in your notebook includes 2 briefing items. The first is to advise the Commission of Staff's intent to execute a trademark licensing agreement with Houston NFL Holdings for production of the Houston Texans scratch ticket. Commissioners have independently confirmed they have no financial interest in the Houston NFL Holdings. The second item is to advise the Commission of Staff's intent to extend our current contract with Beehive Specialty and Promotional Products for a 1-year period. Commissioners have also independently confirmed they have no interest in Beehive Specialty Products. I would be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions? Okay. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Item 5 in your notebook is a briefing item to advise the Commission of Staff's intent to issue a request for proposals for security management systems and monitoring services. This is also in preparation for our move to 1801 Congress. I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Hearing no questions, we're moving on.
Thank you. My last item, item 6 in your notebook, is an informational item. Texas Administrative Code 401-105 requires the executive director to provide the status of all contracts to the commission annually for information purposes. Texas Government Code further requires that each contract with a value exceeding $1 million, additional information including contract compliance, corrective action plans, sanctions be reported. We've included under item 6 a list of all agency contracts. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those also.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, good job.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next looks like we're going to move on to item number 7. Tyler Vance.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Tyler Vance, an Assistant General Counsel with the Legal Division, and I have for your consideration this morning a proposal to adopt the amendments to bingo rules in Chapter 402, 200, 300, 301, 400, 401, 404, 408, 420, 450, 451, 502, 511, 601, 602, 700, 702, and 703. These amendments were developed during the agency's quadrennial rule review process and involve lots of discussions with industry stakeholders in the Bingo Advisory Committee. The rules before you today have been slightly modified in response to comments that we received from the Bingo Interest Group, the Texas Veterans of Foreign Wars, Texas Charity Advocates, and the Kickapoo Traditional Tribe of Texas. We've modified the amendments to reflect the Bingo Interest Group's comments by adding more detail to the negative net proceeds rule and by specifying the people in bingo who the temporary suspension process will apply to. The Bingo Interest Group's comments were also supported by Texas Charity Advocates. We've also modified the amendments to reflect the VFW's comment by removing Penal Code Chapter 22, assaultive offenses, from the list of directly related offenses. VFW's comment was also supported by the Bingo Interest Group and Texas Charity Advocates, and as you just heard from the Bingo Advisory Committee. Finally, in response to comments made by the Kickapoo Traditional Tribe of Texas, we have removed the proposed rule on electronic gift cards at this time to allow for further discussion with the relevant stakeholders. And other than those modifications, the rules before you are the same as those that were proposed at the last commission meeting. And so staff recommends that you adopt the rule amendments as presented, and I'm available for any questions.
Okay, Tyler, thank you. I understand that we have a public comment from Kim Kiplin, who would like to speak on this matter.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Kimberly Kiplin. I'm an attorney here in Austin, Texas, and I am commenting today on behalf of the Department of Texas Veterans of Foreign Wars. The Texas VFW participated in the 2019-2020 rule review process and the meetings with stakeholders and agency staff. We appreciated the opportunity to provide comments on that rule review and to participate in those stakeholder meetings. That process was collaborative, and the proposed amendments, for the most part, at that time, were a result of that process. We also provided comment during the rulemaking comment period And we do support the rulemaking package being presented to you today for adoption. I do want to take a moment to express our appreciation to Tom Hansen and Tyler Vance and other staff for their willingness to listen to our comments and make the change we requested to Rule 402-702. That's very important for the VFW, that particular change. And just want to say again, it's very refreshing to be able to work with staff and have them be receptive and willing to listen. I thank you for the opportunity to provide comment today, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any comments? Okay, is there a motion to adopt the rule amendments?
This is Cindy, so moved.
Second?
Mark will second.
I'm sorry, who is the second?
Mark Franz.
Okay, thank you. Just for make sure we have all the appropriate items recorded. Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, passes unanimously. Definitely thank you to everyone involved in this major rulemaking effort. The members of the BAC, Texas Charity Advocates, literally, you know, this is very important for bingo, for the state. And although this matter literally just took us a couple of minutes to approve, there has been an incredible amount of work done behind the scenes leading up to this. And we are very grateful for what we have voted on and what this is going to mean moving forward. So thank you to everyone involved. Next item is a report on lottery sales and revenue. We have Kathy and Robert, your item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll give our team a few seconds to get the PowerPoint displayed. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kathy Pica, Controller for the agency. With me this morning is the Commission's Products Manager, Robert Trelawney. Commissioners, this morning we will be presenting final fiscal year 2020 revenue and sales data. So we'll begin our presentation with the first chart. Next slide, please. So our presentation includes revenue highlights. The Commission completed the fiscal year with $1,684 million in accrued revenue transfers to the state. This is the highest revenue transfer in Texas lottery history, breaking the previous record set in fiscal year 2019 by more than $47 million. Fiscal year 2020 also marks the 17th consecutive year the Texas Lottery has reached the $1 billion mark in overall revenue transfers. Of that overall revenue transfer amount, $1,661 million went to the Foundation School Fund, representing a new record of lottery contributions to public education in Texas. Our revenue in fiscal year 2020 to the Foundation School Fund exceeded the previous record by $44 million. Additionally, of the total revenue transfer, $22.2 million went directly to the Texas Veterans Commission from the sale of scratch-off games dedicated to the Fund for Veterans Assistance, and this is the largest annual transfer to the Veterans Fund since these designated scratch-off games began. So we'll move to the next slide, please. These revenue records were generated from $6,704 million in lottery sales, making this our 10th consecutive record-breaking year in sales. Moving to the second bullet, another record was prizes paid to the players, with more than $4,523 million won by players. This broke the previous record set in fiscal year 2019 by more than $391 million. Our retailers were paid more than $335 million in commissions during fiscal year 2020. This too was another record in payments to retailers. We concluded the fiscal year with an administrative expenditure rate of 3.23%, which is one of the lowest administrative expenditure rates as a percentage of gross sales in the country, as well as the lowest rate in Commission's history. So we'll move on to the next slide and our detailed sales data. Final sales for fiscal year 2020 were $6,704 million, and that surpassed the previous sales record set just last year by $453 million. That was a 7.2% increase over fiscal year 2019. We ended the fiscal year with $5,556 million in scratch ticket sales, as noted on the second orange column. This is a new sales record, marking the best year of scratch ticket sales since we began selling tickets. And this reflects a sales increase of more than $710 million above the $4,846 million sales record set last year. Commissioners, this was a 14.7% increase in scratch ticket sales. Our draw sales concluded the year with $1,148 million in sales, as noted on the second blue bar. This is a decrease of $258 million from last year's sales of $1,406 million. Commissioners, regarding our draw sales decline, as we reported during the last year, we simply have not had multi-state jackpots advertised during fiscal year 2020 to generate the historical jackpot sales levels that we've once had. One highlight that I do want to report about draw games during fiscal year 2020 are that our in-state draw games generated $702 million out of the $1,148 million. And that's the highest amount of in-state draw game sales since 2010. Robert will certainly expand upon this further in a bit. I'd like to move to the next slide, please. So our next slide provides an overview of the 29-year history of scratch and draw sales for the Commission. Scratch ticket sales are noted with the orange bar, and draw sales are noted with the blue bar. We began fiscal year 1992 with 591,000 in scratch tickets sold, growing to the $6,704 million mark in total sales met last fiscal year. The takeaway, Commissioners, that I'd like to share from this chart is over the last 5 years, total sales have grown from $4.5 billion in 2015 to $6.7 billion in fiscal year 2020, which is a $2.2 billion growth, or 48% over that 5-year period. So with that, Robert will now provide detailed sales information.
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. If we can move to the next slide in the PowerPoint. Okay, thank you. So Commissioners, this is a slide you're used to seeing every month, but at this point, it is now a full fiscal year comparison. So we're comparing fiscal year 20 to fiscal 19 by game. So if we look at the top of this slide, the white font represents the jackpot portion of the portfolio. And I'll start at the very top with Lotto Texas. We are realizing an $11.6 million gain when you include the extra feature. That's the add-on game for Lotto. Fiscal year 20, Lotto had very strong jackpots right through the end of August. They were in the mid $30 million range, and that helped contribute to a very successful year for Lotto Texas. Moving down to the middle of that section, you'll see losses for Mega Millions, Megaplier, just the jackpot feature. You'll also see losses for Powerball and Power Play. As Kathy just mentioned a moment ago, and as we've discussed over the past year, both multi-state games just did not generate large jackpots during this past fiscal year. So we're looking at about $303 about $303 to $304 million worth of losses from the multi-state category. Texas Two-Step, our own in-state game. It's a smaller jackpot game. That game was pretty much pacing itself in 20 compared to 19. But right at the end of 19, Texas Two-Step had a very large jackpot, over $2 million. And we just didn't get that level of jackpot at the end of fiscal 20. So we are experiencing a decline in Two-Step of $1.6 million. So the jackpot category as a whole is down almost $295 million. If you look down to the middle of this table or this slide, in blue you see our daily games. We're very pleased with the performance of our daily games this past fiscal year. Pick 3 and Daily 4, both, which include the Fireball add-on feature, had healthy gains. Pick 3 was up $21 million and Daily 4 was up $11 million. Cash 5 eked out a gain of about $200,000, and All or Nothing ended the year with $4.5 million gain over fiscal 19. So we're seeing almost a $37 million gain from our daily game portion of the portfolio. Of course, that can't make up for the losses from the multi-state games. So if you look at draw as a total or as a whole, you see we've got almost a $258 million decline. Moving down a line to scratch tickets, the $710 million in growth is phenomenal for this past year. As Kathy mentioned, we did set a scratch ticket sales record with our $5.56 billion in scratch ticket sales. So because of that growth and the successful year we had in scratch, we did end the year with $452.5 million worth of growth compared to the previous fiscal. We can move to the next slide. So since this is the end of the year presentation, we do have a few more slides to kind of just paint an overall picture of the portfolio for you all. So this next slide, this pie chart, represents the $6.7 billion in total sales. And it's showing you the split between the two product categories. So scratch is representing 83% and draw is representing 17%. I would tell you that our typical split is about 80-20. But of course, because of the very strong scratch sales that we had this fiscal year, that did increase the percentage of sales that scratch represents this year. And that's the reason for it being about 3 percentage points higher than we would normally see. If we move to the next slide, what we're looking at here in this pie chart is draw sales for the fiscal year. So this represents $1.1 billion worth of draw sales, and it shows you the breakdown by game. So for fiscal year 20, our #1 selling game was Pick 3, which is one of our daily games. Mega Millions is our second best selling game, followed by Powerball, followed by Lotto Texas, which is coming in ranked #4. And then Daily 4 would be coming in ranked #5. So the interesting thing here is that Pick 3, Mega Millions, and Powerball every year are pretty much jockeying for, those top 3 slots. Last year, Mega Millions was ranked #1. That's because Mega Millions had some very strong, very large jackpots last year. But if we don't get the large jackpots, like what happened in fiscal 20, it is not abnormal for Pick 3 to come in as the best-selling game, as indeed it did in fiscal 20. I will point out that Lotto was ranked 4th last year, as it is this year. and Daily 4 was ranked 5th last year, as it is this year. As I noted, though, Lotto had a very, very strong year, and it ended the fiscal year very strong. I think it will be interesting to see what happens in our current fiscal year, fiscal 21. If Lotto does not have strong jackpots, I believe because of the continued growth that we've been seeing from Daily 4, there is the potential that Daily 4 could actually move up and surpass Lotto in terms of sales rank. So that'll be something interesting that we'll be watching. If we can move to the next slide, this is going to be the same look except for scratch sales. So this pie chart represents 5.55 billion in scratch sales, and it's broken out by price point. So this year, the $10 price point was the best selling price point. It was ranked #1, followed by the 5 in the #2 slot, followed by the 20, and then followed by the 50. So this year, this is a change. This is the first time the $10 price point was ranked #1. For many years, as far back as I can remember, the $5 has been our best-selling scratch price point. But the $10 game, or the $10 price point, has been growing consistently year after year. And last year, during this presentation, we mentioned that we really did believe that the $10 was going to move up and be the #1 price point. And so that has happened, as I mentioned, for the first time this year. The 5 is still a very solid, strong selling price point for us. And as I mentioned, that's ranked #2. The 20 and the 50 that were ranked 3rd and 4th, they had the exact same rank last year in fiscal 19. If we can move to the last slide. So this table, commissioners, is showing the top 15 scratch ticket games for the fiscal year. I won't cover all of these. I'll just hit a couple of high points. Mega Lotteria is our #1 game. It was also our #1 game last year. It is a $10 game, and it is part of our Lotteria family of games. If you look down that list, if you look at rank 6, that's our $5 Super Lotteria game. Rank 7 is our $20 Lotteria game. And then if you look way down towards the bottom, rank 14 is another $20 Lotteria game. So Lotteria is our family of Mexican-style bingo games. We offer it at the 3, 5, 10, and 20 currently. It's a very strong, popular part of our scratch portfolio, and we've taken great care to launch those games at the right times and to carefully grow that portion of the portfolio. So we're extremely pleased to see so many of the Lotteria games in the top 15. If you look at rank #2, 3, and 4, you'll see 3 $50 games. Our 50s continue to see sales growth year over year, and we're pleased to see the high rank for those games. Just a couple of other things. If you look down towards the bottom of that table, rank 12 and rank 13. That's our two of our Monopoly multiplier games. So we took our multiplier family of games that we launch in January, and those multiplier games were branded with Monopoly this past year. And so we've had very good sales results from those games. Last but not least, I'll call attention to the last game on that list, which is our $10 crossword style game. 250,000 50x cash word. That game has continued to gain in popularity, and it has become a core game for us, just like our Lotteria family is a core offering, which means those games are out and available year round. They are never out of market. Commissioners, that is this portion of the sales presentation, our recap of fiscal 20. I know Mr. Grief would like to make some comments before we close out on this agenda item, and then of course we can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Gary, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Kathy, as well. Great job on the presentation today. Commissioners, you've now seen the details and you read the recent press release regarding our record year for sales and revenue, made even more impressive by achieving these results in the face of the worst pandemic of our lifetime. As we said in our press release, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to our 20,000 retailer locations around the state that sell lottery tickets. These locations, virtually all of which have remained open throughout the COVID-19 situation. They've done an outstanding job of marketing our products to a public audience that has had its choices for discretionary spending severely limited over the past several months. Countless Texans have discovered the Texas lottery during this time. In particular, our entertaining scratch ticket products. And we believe we've made inroads with many customers that we hope will have a lifelong loyalty to lottery products. I would be remiss not to recognize IGT Texas, our lottery operator, for the outstanding job they've done for Texas in the past fiscal year. Especially the IGT sales reps that visit the retailers around the state and ensure that each one of these locations that sells lottery products is properly trained, outfitted, and marketing our products in an appropriate manner. Also want to thank Third Ear, our advertising agency partner. This is an organization that has shown an amazing ability to be nimble as we deliver our message of promoting the Texas lottery, able to pivot quickly from traditional mass media advertising to a laser-focused digital approach as a result of the pandemic. Also want to express appreciation to Pollard Banknote, Scientific Games, and IGT Printing, our three vendor partners that print the scratch ticket products for us. Texas continues to be the only lottery in the country that awards 1/3 of their scratch ticket printing business to each of the three vendors capable of providing these products, thus ensuring we have our pick of the best scratch tickets in the industry and making sure that these vendors compete for our business every day with their best and newest products, and not just once every 5 to 7 years when we go out for bid. This approach continues to pay immense dividends for us, as evidenced by the growth we've seen of our scratch ticket sales. And these three vendor partners work closely with us each year as we develop our strategic scratch ticket game plan. And finally, I want to thank our employees who have not only survived an incredibly challenging year due to COVID-19, but have thrived in supporting all of our efforts to generate record amounts of revenue for both public education and veteran services in Texas. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my comments on this item.
Wow. Well, definitely an incredible amount of gratitude from the entire commission to all of our employees. This has been obviously a very difficult year with a tremendous amount of uncertainty ahead of us. But it's an absolute testament to the strength of every employee, the leadership that's in place, and a commitment to what we do daily, commitment to charity, to our education of the state, to our veterans, and to each other as coworkers and volunteers at are here for, you know, a daily purpose. And that has not changed, whether, you know, we're able to meet in person or not, do our business in person or not. The mission remains the same. And Gary, sincerely, your leadership and every employee contributes to this record-breaking year that would have not happened without your joint belief in what we're doing. Clearly, the retailers obviously have, as you mentioned, you know, likewise bring an incredible amount to the state, and we're beyond grateful to all involved. So this has been just very well received information by us all. Commissioners, any additional comments, please?
Hi, this is Cindy. Congratulations for you. You guys have done a stellar job. It's amazing what you've done, especially under the circumstances. The team is just great, and I'm super proud of you all. Glad to be part of the organization.
Thank you, Commissioner Fields. We certainly appreciate that.
Anyone else?
This is Commissioner Steen. I think we all echo those sentiments. A lot to be proud about. A great year.
Okay. Well, having said that, we are now going to move on. Next item is also Kathy's, so we'll let you present item number 9.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, the report in your notebook reflects accrued revenue transfers and allocations to the Foundation School Fund and Texas Veterans Commission, as well as the allocation of unclaimed prizes for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2020. We've just covered the revenue highlights, so the only other item that I'd like to add under this tab is I wanted to note that our total cumulative transfers to the Foundation School Fund through August of this year now amount to $25.7 billion. Commissioners, this concludes my presentation on this item. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. None, Kathy, go ahead.
All right. So we'll move on to tab 10, Commissioners, and this is information on the agency's fiscal year 2022-2023 legislative appropriations request. This morning, I'm seeking your approval of the Commission's legislative appropriation request, or LAR for short, for fiscal years 2022 and fiscal year 2023. The LAR includes a baseline request of $541,045,348 with 321.5 full-time equivalent positions and one exceptional item request totaling $4,352,835. This brings the Commission's total LAR for fiscal year 2022-23 to $545,398,183, which is a 1.4% decrease under the fiscal year 2020-21 baseline appropriation levels. The Commission's fiscal year 22-23 LAR was developed in accordance with guidelines from the leadership offices, which stated that as a starting point for budget deliberations, each agency's baseline request may not exceed the adjusted fiscal year 2021 baseline levels, incorporating a 5% reduction as published by the Legislative Budget Board. In accordance with the 5% reduction, the bingo program funded by general revenue was required to reduce their funding request by $254,694 and 2 staff positions over the biennium. Appropriations from the Commission's General Revenue Dedicated Lottery account are exempt from the 5% reduction requirement. Funding requests for purposes which exceed the baseline spending level may not be submitted in the agency's LAR baseline request, but may be submitted as exceptional items. The LAR, as proposed, includes 1 exceptional item request. The item for your consideration includes $4,352,835 over the biennium that would allow for the retailer bonus budget to be restored at the original $8.4 million amount. The $4.2 million annual retailer bonus budget was vetoed by the governor and was zeroed out in the second year of the fiscal year 2018-19 biennium. The Commission did receive partial restoration of this bonus program in fiscal year 2000 and 2021, and we're simply seeking to restore it back to the original $8.4 million. Commissioners, bonus payments are earned by retailers for selling certain prize-winning tickets. Based on the partial budget restoration, bonus payments are currently limited to 2 multi-state games, Powerball and Mega Millions. Restoring the annual budget to previously authorized appropriations would allow for this key program to be fully implemented. This key program also impacts retailer sales performance, recruitment, retention, and development opportunities. If funding is granted by the legislature for this exceptional item request, there would be no cost to the appropriations bill, as the lottery dedicated account is not subject to the comptroller's certification for the General Appropriations Act. Now moving on to rider requests. The rider revisions are reflected on page 3B of the LAR and incorporate revisions to the Commission's current rider structure. In addition to routine technical revisions, the LAR also includes 2 new riders. The first new rider is new rider 701 that would provide for an appropriation to promote lottery games. The Commission is requesting a new funding mechanism to fund the promotion of lottery games as a percentage of lottery sales with a not to exceed amount of $40 million in each year of the biennium. If the rider is adopted, the Commission would request that the current $17.9 million strategy appropriation for Promote Lottery Games be deleted and zeroed out, and the rider become the funding mechanism for the promotion of lottery games. When developing the rider, the percent of gross sales rate of 0.64% was derived using actual lottery sales from fiscal year 2019 of $6.25 billion and the initial base appropriation of $40 million that was authorized in 1993 for promoting lottery games. By comparison, the current baseline of funding allocated to promote lottery games is $17.9 million, and this new rider would provide for an annual amount not to exceed $40 million. Funding for this rider is also one of the items that would not count towards the certification of the budget by the Comptroller of Public Accounts. The second new rider for your consideration is new rider 702 that would provide for unexpended balances of capital budget for construction of the Texas Capitol Complex building. Plans for us to relocate to our headquarters facility are in May of 2022. The Commission received a $1.8 million capital budget appropriation in the current year of the biennium for building construction to support the agency's drawings production studio, as well as specialized building space at the new location. Should any of the fiscal year 2021 capital budgets be deferred to fiscal year 22, this appropriation would provide for expenditures that may be required in fiscal year 2022. Finally, one of the technical revisions that I'd like to highlight in the LAR is the revision to Rider 10 lottery operator contract. The rider includes a revision to the contract rate in fiscal year 2023, modifying the rate from 2.0773% of lottery sales to 2.0331% of lottery sales in accordance with the current lottery operator contract. The Commission's LAR is due to leadership offices tomorrow, October the 2nd. In addition to filing hard copies of the document, agencies are also required to file the operating budgets electronically with the LBB, as well as submitting a hard copy to the governor's office. Upon completion of the budget document, we are also required to certify the integrity of the dual submissions and assurance that the electronic and hard copy are one and the same. I'm here to certify that that is the case, and this certification will require a signature of both Gary and myself as well on this document. Before I wrap up, I'd also like to acknowledge the support of Gary, Grief, and Nelda Trevino in preparing the LAR, and special recognition of Kelly Stuckey within the Office of the Controller. Commissioners, Kelly and her team did an outstanding job in pulling this document together in a very shortened time frame, considering that the instructions were only released on August the 18th. I'm super, super proud of their efforts in completing this task. In closing, I am seeking your approval of the proposed LAR for fiscal years 2022 and fiscal year 2023. The Commission's baseline request is $541,045,348 with 321.5 FTEs. The baseline request, along with one exceptional item request totaling $4,352,835, results in a total LAR of $545,398,183. Commissioners, this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, commissioners, any comments or discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve the LAR?
I'll move to approve the LAR. This is Mark Franz.
This is Eric. I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank
Okay.
you, Commissioners.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, Kathy. I know that this has been quite a bit that you've had to handle under unusual circumstances in a kind of a compact time period. Likewise, we are definitely grateful to Gary and Nelda and Kelly for presenting a very thorough document moving forward, and every item in there is extremely important. Everything in there is something that was reviewed and gone over multiple times, and so, you know, we are confident and look forward to discussions at the Capitol regarding, you know, the request. We definitely look forward to all the upcoming interaction and consideration for the agency. And for the agency's bingo program, the required 5% reduction, providing services with less funding can be a challenge. However, we are confident that Tom and his staff will continue to provide their, as always, usual high level of customer service and regulatory oversight. So this is a very important document that collectively we look forward to working with and helping to make sure that it is successful. So Kathy, Gary, and Nelda, if there's anything that any of the commissioners can do to assist with this, please let us know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next item on the report is the Internal Auditor, Darlene. This is your item.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Today I'm presenting two reports to you. The first report is Charitable Bingo Operations Division implementation of House Bill 914 requirements. House Bill 914 was passed during the last legislative session, and it had significant changes to the way prize fees are collected and distributed in the state. It also impacted other aspects of charitable bingo operations. Our audit looked at each requirement in the bill and compared it to how COBD implemented it. Our conclusion was that COBD has implemented all applicable requirements of House Bill 914. This was completed through collective efforts of several agency divisions. Although CBOD had implemented the requirements, we did assign an audit rating of some improvement needed for CBOD's business processes. What we noted in the audit was that incorrect prize fee allocations were made to 6 jurisdictions because of quarterly report processing errors made by CBOD staff. 5 jurisdictions were overpaid a total of $913, and 1 jurisdiction was underpaid $2,680. The net impact was $1,766. I want to bring it up to you that these allocation payments have been corrected in the financial systems. The underpayment has already been issued a refund, and 4 of the jurisdictions have already submitted their overpayment back to the state through the Lottery Commission. The second item we noted was that CBOD did not have a documented policy to govern the implementation of regulatory changes, and current written procedures were not detailed enough to ensure that ongoing compliance with regulatory changes would occur. This is particularly important with the volume of staff turnover and with the implementation of House Bill 914 requiring so much effort. The staff, a big majority of them, have already left the agency. However, the division has already drafted written procedures to address this. Additionally, the Boston County Municipality Allocation Table was not updated for prize fee results. Staff are currently in the process of updating that. We noted that some were incorrectly listed as yes for City of Tulsa, County of Gregg, and Kendall on CBOD's website. They had actually voted no or not submitted a documentation. Staffer did not perform a secondary review for prize fee voting outcomes, which resulted in these errors. Finally, the division does not perform detailed prize fee reconciliations to validate that the payment received actually agrees to what is recorded in BOSS and what was reported on the quarterly reports. I'm happy to note to you that staff have already started addressing every one of our findings and made significant progress. If you have any questions on this report, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, any questions, commissioners? Okay, thank you very much. Darlene, thank you. Go ahead.
I have a second report for you, and this is required by the Internal Audit Act. It's the fiscal year 2020 annual internal audit report. The report, the contents are prescribed by the state auditor's office. The report summarizes the fiscal year 20 internal audit activities and planned activities for fiscal year 21. The report's required to be submitted to the governor's office, the legislative budget board, and the state auditor's office by November 1st. I will be submitting that tomorrow. And if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. Okay, that concludes my report for today.
Okay, Darlene, Thank you so much. Next item is the Bingo Director's Report. Mr. Tom Hansen, this is your item.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. For the record, my name is Tom Hansen. I'm the Director of the Charitable Bingo Operations Division. I want to note for the record the activity of the Bingo Division since the last commission meeting. The Bingo Division staff has continued to work directly with licensed organizations as they try to generate funds for their organizations while facing reduced occupancy restrictions as they reopened or faced additional closures. The Bingo Division, with the assistance of the Governmental Affairs and Legal Services Division, have worked with the industry on the proposed rule changes that were presented for your consideration today. Those interactions with industry stakeholders were very positive, and it has led to rule changes that should help the industry and as well allow us to continue our mission to maintain the integrity of charitable bingo. We have also been involved in our responses to the internal audit for HB 914 implementation, and we're taking all of those items into consideration and making moves to avoid those kind of issues in the future. I want to extend my thanks to you for your continued support. I'd also like to recognize the dedicated staff of the Bingo Division and the involvement and assistance of every division of the Commission. Commissioners, other than the items provided in your notebooks, that is the extent of my report, and I'd be willing to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, Tom, always we are grateful for what you do daily and all of the supporting folks that are helping to move the bingo cause along. So just Tom, as always, all of us collectively are here for you and all of our bingo employees to assist in whatever way that that we can. So we are continue to remain grateful for all that you do.
Thank you very much, and I will pass that on to the staff.
Okay. Any comment from other commissioners on bingo? Okay. Next item is the Executive Director's Report. Gary, this is your item.
Commissioners, other than the material in your notebooks today, the only other item I have for you involves our very important efforts in the area of promoting responsible gaming. At the June Commission meeting, we provided you with an update on the status of our responsible gaming certification level with the World Lottery Association, or WLA as it's known. At that time, we were just weeks away from submitting documentation to the WLA for level 3 recertification after achieving our original level 3 accreditation in 2016. I'm pleased to inform you that we were successfully recertified at level 3 in August, and we're currently working toward level 4, the highest level of WLA responsible gaming accreditation available. The agency's responsible gaming program is also jointly accredited by the North American Association of State and Provincial Lotteries and the National Council on Problem Gambling. Commissioners, these certifications are important to us, and they are evidence of our commitment to the responsible development, marketing, and play of our games, as well as an awareness of the signs of problem gambling and the resources available to help people. This commitment extends beyond just the Texas Lottery and also includes our lottery operator, IGT, and our advertising agency, Third Ear. A key initiative of our comprehensive responsible gaming program is employee training. Together, more than 700 employees of the Texas Lottery, Charitable Bingo, IGT, and Third Ear are in the process of completing their 2020 required responsible gaming training and all of this training will be complete by October 5th. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Gary, thank you. Commissioners, any discussion? Okay, Gary, as always, tremendous job. Next item.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is
Bob Baird.
Sure. This is Bob Beard, General Counsel. Commissioners, item 14 contains 5 lottery enforcement matters, tabs A through D. In these cases, Commission staff either found a licensee violated a statute or rule, or an applicant did not qualify for a license. In many cases, either the respondent failed to appear at the hearing and it proceeds by default, or the staff and the respondent reached a settlement in the form of an agreed order. Occasionally, we have litigated cases, as we do today. Tabs A and B are the non-sufficient fund lottery retailer license revocations handled in a single order. Each case was presented at the State Office of Administrative Hearings for revocation of the retailer license because the licensee failed to have sufficient funds in their bank account to cover electronic fund transfers to the Commission's account. In each case, the licensee failed to appear and the judge remanded the case to the Commission to handle as a default matter. Tabs C and D are lottery agreed orders. Both of these cases involve the owner of a retail location who purchased winning tickets from a customer to claim as their own. The agreed penalty in each case is a 90-day suspension. Tab E is a case that was litigated at SOA involving the owner of 2 retail locations in Calhoun County. The retailer repeatedly violated the rules of a retailer cash incentive program. This is a contest that challenges retailers to beat certain sales targets for specified scratch ticket games. The retailer improperly activated and settled packs of the tickets to make it appear he was selling tickets he was not actually offering for sale. And he also moved ticket inventory between his 2 locations, which is not allowed. The staff warned him repeatedly of these violations. In fact, he had engaged in similar violations several years ago in another retailer cash incentive program. All in all, he has received about 20 warnings from the staff. The staff sought revocation of the licenses under the Commission's discretionary authority to determine that this person's participation as a sales agent detracts from the integrity, security, honesty, and fairness of the lottery. The staff does not exercise this authority often, but the judge agreed it is appropriate in this case and recommends revocation of the licenses. And we also recommend that you approve the order revoking the 2 licenses that we presented in your notebooks. The retailer did not file exceptions to this recommendation. Commissioners, that concludes my presentation. You may take up the enforcement orders in a single vote if you like, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Commissioners, any discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve the orders tabs A through E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
This is Jamie, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Good job, everyone. Bob, as always, thank you for your thoroughness. Next item is public comment.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe we had any other requests for public comment other than Ms. Kipling, who's already spoken.
Okay. There is no reason to go into executive session, so before we conclude the meeting, I was going to ask all of our commissioners if there's anything that they would like to openly discuss or comment on, or anything else that they'd like to mention here today. Okay. Again, thank you everyone for today. I know we covered a lot, particularly to staff that is working literally around the clock on an ever-changing environment of items. So we're definitely grateful for all of the work that has gone into this and all the work that's going to be moving forward. Obviously, you know, lottery, although what we were all focused on here today is part of the overall scope of work that the state of Texas is trying to accomplish. And, you know, the little ripple effects that happen here within this organization, they do ripple across the state. And, you know, definitely the commissioners are all grateful for all of the employees, both bingo and lottery, on the items that we are challenged with daily. So, having said that, is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll make a motion. Jamie.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.